Today we're talking about Resident Evil 9 leaks, the first official details of Switch 2, and revealing our own personal gaming rituals. Plus, we're talking about Dragon Age the Veilguard. I'm now 40 hours in, and is it really that much of a disaster? Stick around to find out. Welcome, friends, to this week's episode of Good Playing with You, the weekly gaming podcast. I'm Dan Whitehill, and as always, I'm joined by our good playing good buddies, Matt Lord.
Hey, how's it going?
And Matt Maulding.
Hey now.
Before we jump into the headlines, let's check in with my classy collection of Matts and find out what everyone's been playing this week. Lord?
Of course, been playing some Life is Strange. That review is nearly out. Very proud of it. Can't wait all to see it. I jumped into some Counter-Strike again. I'm still a Counter-Strike main, so I gotta say. And then, of course, got my hands on Fortnite Remix. It's Fortnite Remix 2, right, Dan? That sounds right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what it is.
So I played about 4 matches of that last night, got 2 dubs in a row. So it's probably just early season.
I love early season when the rankings just getting figured out. That's a sweet spot for me.
It was great. So we got 2 wins in a row. Felt really good. First impressions. Honestly, that first map is kind of boring compared to the later maps that I've seen. So it is definitely a step back visually. There's not quite as much to look at and enjoy.
I gotta say, I'm the exact same way. I'm not excited about this at all. This feels like a small little cash in before we actually get a real battle pass in 1 month in December. And they're so excited about this. I just read that it's going to be its own mode soon. That's going to be alongside. They're ranked and reloaded, and there's going to be an OG season. And they're going to keep this thing going. And I'm like, old season's old, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The map feels that way. So I'm not exactly who this is for, maybe some Fortnite purists who really want to go back for the nostalgia, but I don't think it's going to hold new players' attention for long. And something like me, I'm just going to play every so often, but yeah, I'll be waiting for the new content for sure. Otherwise, I've been just gooning over. They announced this Steam Deck controller that is going to drop on December 16th. It was originally going to launch Japan only, and it's coming to the States. And I'm so excited.
Can you not connect like a Xbox controller? Does it not take Bluetooth controllers?
You can, but I love the idea of I was going to say Switch, a Steam Deck exclusive controller, and you can use this for other consoles as well, but I just thought it was awesome. Like, I want this, or it's an Ori controller, believe it or not. And I just think it looks cool. I'm like, I want this thing. I can always use my PlayStation controller. I can always use my Xbox controller, but I can't always spend $60 and get a Steam Deck controller. So that's
their money bags over here.
I know.
Yeah, I wish.
Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, sorry, daughter. You're gonna have to eat some rice today because Dad has spent $60 on an Ori controller.
Wait, Ori and the Blind Forest? That Ori?
What's
Ori? Is Ori the brand name?
Ori, yeah, H-O-R-I.
You would,
right? Is that
Ori? I don't know.
Ori? No, it's like it's gonna be cool. I think it's gonna be sweet. Nice. I'm excited. I'll probably wind up picking it up, you guys. I just can't. Once it's something in my head and I get a little spun on it, I'm like, okay, we're gonna go.
Yeah, you're
Once
totally
you start gooning on it, you mean?
Once you start gooning, it's over. So that's been my week.
Nice,
Maulding.
Call of Duty. I am almost gonna go to Prestige 2 in multiplayer, which means I would be level 110. Wow. I absolutely love it. I'm having so much fun with the multiplayer. I haven't even tried the campaign yet. It's just been all multiplayer all the time. So me and friend of the show Brendan have been doing a lot of that. Just a lot of fun. The sound design when you hit a snipe and a headshot and the little medals come up, it's just it just feels so good. It just talk about gooning. That's a lot of fun. And then I just finished the game that I am also reviewing that I will have out on this week. So I'm really excited to put that out as well.
That's
And
awesome. A lot of good content coming from both of you.
yeah, exactly. And then what was the other thing? Oh, and then now that I'm done with that game to do the review on, I'm back in Metaphor Refantasio, so I'll finish that, and then I will be jumping into Dragon Age, which I
Or will
think
you? We need to talk
you,
about it. We
yeah,
need to talk about this game.
Can't wait.
So I'm not even going to tell you. Everyone knows that I've been playing Dragon Age, and that's I'd want to do a little mini review, and that's going to be our first headline of the week. All right, let's talk Dragon Age. You guys, I have now put about 40 hours into this game, and I feel like I'm halfway.
wow.
But I'm going to go the
No, you
distance.
feel like you're halfway because of the story. That's the way the story has been feeling, or because of like the levels that you've reached. Like, how do you gauge halfway on it?
I think because of all of the side quests and everything that I've done, I literally am that meme of the whale that's like me coming after the first level boss, and it's like this big whale because I've done all of the side quests and stuff.
Got it.
Because I mean, the formula of a BioWare game is just so good. The way that they've got the side quests, but they're not fetch quests. They're actually meaningful stories for your companions, and then they do have some like hidden stuff throughout the levels that are good to find. But man, they're just nailing it on that formula. They're not nailing it across the whole game, so I do want to go in kind of in depth with you guys.
Yeah, please.
And talk about it, and then I'm curious. I have a hypothesis on both of you on how you're gonna react to the game. But first, let me just jump into my mini review, and then feel free to stop me or ask any questions. I want to list essentially. I want to do this quick because I don't want to take up all the time on the pod. Although I could talk about this game forever, because I'm actually really enjoying it, and you know the people who say it has problems are right. It significantly has problems, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it is a huge adventure game where you're fighting bad guys, you're leveling up, you're going into new lands and exploring, and you're finding hidden treasure. And man, if that isn't Dan Nip, I don't know what is. I love that. And so, yes, there are problems with graphics and story and all that sort of stuff, but from a fundamental perspective, this is a good video game. Like, it is a video game, but it does have some wonkiness to it. So first, right off the bat, the combat is super solid, and that's one of the things I said. I don't know if anyone saw my preview piece that I put up right before the
Absolutely.
weekend. Yeah, so the first couple of hours, right off the bat, I could say this game has good, solid controls. It has the combat just feels uh, it's not of course as good as maybe like a Batman Arkham Asylum or something like that, where that is just unbelievably legendary, but it's really close. I mean, you've got like your parry system, and it's got the yellow thing over your head, so I was kind of starting to think of that as
What
well.
class are you playing?
I'm playing the rogue.
Okay.
A friend of the pod, Jack, is playing the mage, and he heard my criticism last week that I read, not from me, but I read it. And he said that he was nervous, so he started two characters, ended up really loving the mage. So you'll be fine if you go with that one.
Great.
Yeah.
And just as a side note, after watching the first impression video and seeing the gameplay that you had captured, I was like totally impressed with it. I thought it looked fun, and there was a lot going on the screen, and it didn't
You
look
look like you weren't very good at it, though. That's the only thing.
Okay,
I was really concerned about
I'm
that.
not going to fight you on that one. It is early days. And
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh, I was gonna say I didn't catch that one. I didn't catch that one. I thought it looked I thought it looked good. I thought there were some cool combos going on, some like
Yes.
switching between hand to hand, going to the bow and arrow, like firing off some stuff. I thought that just looked fluid, and like it looked like what I would want from a game like that.
I think fluid's a really good word, because I was able to switch seamlessly from ranged attacks to up close, and then throw an ultimate or a superpower. And then one of the things I really didn't care for in this preview is that they would stop the combat and everything stops, and then they would select the companion power. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that is that ruins the flow. But what they don't show you is your left trigger. You can quick map all this sort of stuff. So
Hmm.
you don't have to stop the fight. You don't have to stop the party just to change the song. You can literally do it with a button tap. And
Oh, that's cool.
you fight so much in this game, you're going to memorize those sorts of like shortcut combos, as well as, for better or worse, me, Maulding, I of course went straight for the turret. The
Yes.
turret, yeah, the turret doesn't. I love a mean turret. Like, that is Borderlands for life. The turret doesn't unlock until level 30, and I just, or around, no, level 20, and then there's further stuff in the tree at level 30. But so I didn't get it until level 20, and I'm like a 31 now. So I've only been playing with it for about 10 levels, but unfortunately it's not very strong, and it is asks it is like a just a
Easy for you
it
to
pulls
say.
all the it pulls all of the aggro from the enemies, and they just
Oh,
go and kill it
nice.
every time. Yeah,
Oh,
but it takes a
less
while to
nice.
recharge, so it's like, oh
Mm.
man, that thing is just like,
What about respecking? If you get to a point where you want to try something else, how does that
you
work?
read my mind, and that's where I was going with this. That's the really nice thing. Respecking is completely free and encouraged, and your skill tree is actually a circle that goes out on all ends, so that you really can go, oh, I love arrows, I'm going this direction, or oh, I love my knives, I'm going this direction. The ultimate I ended up unlocking after level 30 was kind of a bummer. So now I'm going to have to head out into a different direction. So it's been, I think there's a lot of meat on the bone in terms of like the combat and exploring, and they don't punish you and they don't lock you into a certain play or build, which is really nice. Um, the
I
other
have
thing,
something to say about that.
yeah.
I actually think, like, do you guys think that like locking into a build kind of makes it a little more intense though? Like, or do you like
No,
that
because I don't want
ability?
to be
That
effed, because like my turret's kind of a loser. I want to go try something else now.
okay, so you do
If I
like
were,
it because
yeah, if I were
I'm like
locked, I'd be
kind of on
mad.
the fence. Like, sometimes I'm like I kind of don't mind the challenge of like, okay, I because I've done it many times in my RPG playing days where I know I've messed up the specs and it's kind of high stakes. Like, you got to kind of know what you're doing, and it's
I,
like
I
no,
totally respect and agree with that. However, I know that I'm going to hit 80 to 100 hours, maybe more than 100 in this. And if
yeah,
I lock into, like, if it was a shorter game, then yes, I can understand that. But when you're going to be spending that much time hitting those
yeah,
buttons, and you're going to want to, it's going to get stale, and I'm going to want to unlock other powers just to keep it, fun.
totally fair.
I'll
All right, that
I'll
was a
I'll
great.
play the middle ground and say I like to be able to respec, but I also like there to be like a little cost. Like it to be
Yeah,
a little bit like you might have to pay a little something to respec.
there we
So
go.
I'll hit middle ground. What about classes though? Can you change classes, or are you stuck with the class the entire time?
You are
Got
stuck with the class the entire time.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least as far as, yeah. And then what else was great? Okay, so then they have a lot of hidden treasure, which is huge for me. Being able to find secret things, puzzles they've got throughout the world. They do kind of repeat ad nauseum, but not to the point where you're like, is this Assassin's Creed? So there's fun stuff to find around every single corner.
As
You can
boring
jump.
as Dragon's Dogma? Like is it Dragon's
Yeah.
Dogma
Oh
2 type
no,
treasure?
No, oh my god.
Okay.
This is far better than Dragon's Dogma 2, which is something that I've been seeing people say is the opposite. They've been loving Dragon's Dogma 2 more, and I was like,
Hmm.
no, 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 no. This has so much more clever thought out puzzles and so much more variety, and you're not you can fast travel anytime, anywhere. And
nice.
that's,
That's good.
yeah, something you could not do in Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah.
Ooh, doggy, there's lots of walking and boring there.
Yeah.
And you can jump. That might sound like a small thing to some people, but not to me, because in an adventure game, I want to be able to jump and move and find things in the environment. And when you're locked to the ground, oh my God, that's my pet peeve. Um, there's some great quality of life things here that I wish other games would pick up on. Nothing like revolutionary, but climbing up and down ladders is super speedy. Your character just speeds right up them or speeds right down. It is so nice. Also, it tells you right from the beginning when you hit save, you've got 100 saves to play with here, and you can name your different saves, as well as you've got probably like 10 or maybe 12 auto saves that the thing is doing for you. So I know a lot of people talk about save scumming or whatever, but I don't
Mhm.
look down on that. And it makes saving and rolling back really, really easy. So I appreciate that one. Um, Last night I got to some of the later game fights, and even though I'm only like a 32, I was fighting characters that were like 35, 37, and these fights were taking me some significant time. Now I'm not saying that they're like as good as like a Dark Souls, because they're not even close. It literally is, this creature, and then they colored him in a different color, and then so it's, and you find out what the one thing is that really injures him, and you kind of spam it for about 15 minutes. But I really had a great time. It made me a bit sweaty. It was really fun. So it's like, man, this game's got teeth. The combat is pushing back. Maulding, just out of the gate, I can tell you right now, it's going to be entirely too easy to you, and you're going to be annoyed. So make sure that you change your difficulty. But for Lord and I,
Love
it's
that.
the perfect. For Lord and I, it's the perfect
Heck yeah.
level of difficulty. It's got a sweeping musical score that gets really dramatic, and when you're fighting, and then kind of tones down nicely. So I love that sort of stuff. It's just I'm obsessed with the transmog, because you can change your gear in your loadout, but then you can go to your home base, and then you look into the mirror and you can change the appearance of it. And because of that, they have scattered the different looks throughout the world. So you might find armor or buy armor throughout the world that has a gold frame on it, but that doesn't give you any stats. It's just a look that you can change. And they've got
Yeah.
probably like, I don't know, it looked like close to 100 pieces of armor. And so I was like, man, this is awesome. And so I'm obsessed with like trying to unlock it and find it. Plus, the more you buy in a certain zone, the more favor you gain with that zone. So it just encourages you to be like a hoarder and get everything that you can. So that's the stuff that it's like, this is an adventure game. This is huge. It's meaty. It's going to take me hundreds of hours. And I know some people get turned off by that and they want something that's very linear, narrative, and short, but that's not me. I'm an adventure guy. This speaks to me. I'm having a great time with those elements. Now, there are a few. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. But, well, this might be as part of what you're about to talk about, but the visuals of it, which has been my concern, is that something in your next section that you're going to talk about?
Yes, because the visuals are significant, and so I this part I'm on the fence on, is what I'm saying, because there are things here that are really great, and there are some things here that are really bad. It cuts both ways. So first off, it's not an open world, and I love adventure games that have an open world, but this one, its levels have linear paths, and then things change and stuff like that. However, these levels are huge and they crisscross, so it feels like an open world, but sometimes it does kind of like you can't explore certain areas, and because these things are so big, it gets convoluted on which hallway you have to go down. So I both loved the narrow experience, because it was easier to find all of the loot, and you didn't miss things in an open world that you might, and there's not a lot of empty negative space that open worlds have. But at the same time, it didn't change enough for me. I felt like there were too many hallways. So it was, but they are wide hallways. There's lots to explore. So it was like good and bad. There were times I loved it, and times that I was like, ooh, not so much. Some levels are really well designed. Some levels are too convoluted. I think that's really what it is.
So real fast, Dan, I've been curious about this. Have you already played the moment that they showed for 20 minutes in that big preview from the State of Play or the Xbox showcase?
That is the opening moment. And yeah, that's a really good thing that you brought up, because one of my complaints that we're going to get to is that the decisions don't matter. So I want to talk about that one in a minute.
Okay.
The other thing I would say is the graphics. So, of course, we all complained about the graphics, me especially, right when we first saw them, knowing that this was going to be a problem. And there are times when you're looking off into the distance and it's like, wow, this game is absolutely jaw-droppingly beautiful. And then there are moments where they make a character appear or something happens, and it's like, these people cannot draw. They are ruining. They essentially ruined Dragon Age Inquisition. So, and I'll touch on that in a little bit, but like some of the characters that they've created and decisions they've made and artwork that they've created in the world is not good. And some is fantastic. So it's a knife that cuts both ways. Yes, I don't care for the cartoon style, but there are times where I can say, oh, that's genuinely nice. And then there's sometimes I'm like, what the F are you thinking? You really screwed this thing up. So it cuts both ways as well. There's not a lot of bugs, although I do have to be completely honest with you. There was a section where a wall didn't load, and I kind of knew something was wonky, and I went behind it and I messed around with some gems and placed them. cut to 2 hours later, I couldn't progress on the missions any further because I had moved some gems through a wall and I wasn't able to get them, and I had to roll back
Oh,
2
no.
hours. So be careful.
Oh.
Whoa,
Yeah, be careful, but that was my fault.
that's
Yeah,
crazy.
the game, I don't feel like it's very buggy. I've only had, like, 1 crash and 1 wall thing, and I'm playing for, like, 40 hours, so that's not too bad. Um, and then I would say the voice acting is good. It's actually the compliment here is that I I sit there and I listen to these people. I don't fast forward as much as I normally like Dragon's Dogma. I was like, tick, 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 tick. I mean, because everything was trash there that was coming out of their mouths, and it was slow and boring. And here they were speaking quickly, getting to the point. They were interesting, and their voices were believable as the characters. So I liked the voice acting. Um, but the flip side of that, and why I put it on the fence column is, who dog, the dialogue is not good. So like the voice acting is good, but what they're saying sometimes it could be a little bit more concise, and the stories aren't very interesting. That's the main
Mm.
problem. And this kind of like touching on now to the complaints I had, the bad stuff about it is people are right. The writing here is not good. The writing isn't, it's fine, but it's just not imaginative enough to the point where I don't care about my companions. And that was the one big bummer, because I loved BioWare games and I loved the adventure and I loved getting to do side quests for them. But so far, and again, I'm early days at 40 hours, but my companions' quests and what's going on with them are really one note, one sided. They're really cardboard cutouts, and unfortunately, they're not very interesting cardboard cutouts. I just don't care about any of them, from the looks to the problems that they have and to the dialogue that they're speaking. It is not, it's not inspired at all. It's really bad. I would say the complaint that it is too PC and too Disney is 100% true. I could definitely see that complaint and understand why people would say that, because it is such a lighter tone. It's not, the darker, edgier sort of Dragon Age that we know, like Inquisition was. This is, they're afraid to cuss in this. No one's like, everyone, there's only one character that's actually kind of like rude or whatever. And while you get to say things sometimes, occasionally, there's one character I hate so much, I always give her the rude response. And I don't feel like I'm really being punished or anything like that.
Oh.
It's just,
Like she's
yeah,
still like you're just beating her up and she still is taking it and is like,
yeah.
"You're so great."
Yep, that's
Got
exactly
it.
it. So,
Oh.
it's just so Disney, and it's so PC in terms of the ways that like they react to each other, and it's not as fun as I was hoping, and it's a little too lighthearted. I think the and then touching on more of the characters, I think they made some really interesting decisions that I can understand people getting really upset about. They put, I don't know how in depth I want to like really go into this, but it's like, you know, in the character creator, they make things very hard to they talk about diversity, but to be honest with you, when it comes to the Inquisitor character, because you do get to create your character and then you get to create the Inquisitor from the last game, and instead of pulling in your character from the save, they, just have you create the character, which would be fine. But the default you get essentially are two races, they look like maybe a South American and an African American. I'm not sure exactly what the races are. If you select human, there are lots of other things too. And so you can go through and you can make, other races in there. If you want to, by pulling all the levers and that sort of stuff. But it was like, obviously they're pushing you to encourage, the diversity, and they're changing the races of characters that previously they could just pull in, you know what I mean? And it was
Yeah.
like, okay, they made some interesting decisions here. When the people get upset about the character that's struggling with their gender identity, there's an option in the menu system to have top scars, which is great. I think inclusion is great, but they make that option separate from the scars menu. So it's like they're clearly coming at this saying like, look how great and inclusionary we are, and they're kind of being heavy-handed about it. So instead of like having eyes, like the heterochromia is very cool that you can have two different set of eyes, but they make that a whole big menu that they set up and put out right in front. So they're like putting all of this sort of stuff in front of people, which I can understand people getting upset about. Instead of making it optional, you have to interact with all of it. Does that make sense? I hope
No, it
I'm
makes sense.
explaining that correctly.
Totally.
So I found it fine. I was able to get through it. But as I was playing with it, I was completely fine. But I was like, oh, this is what's upsetting people. Oh, I saw the certain touch points that would trigger people. Now, to be honest with you, with the companions, I think the one companion that is struggling with their gender identity is the most interesting one to me. That's the funniest part. And I know that people are bagging on it, and I've seen the scenes online and that sort of stuff. But character was the only character that said or anything modern or cool and had real world problems. And she's a character that, and I hope I'm not misgendering her because I haven't gotten that far in the story, so don't yell at me if I am. But she starts to express concern about her race because she's part Kunari and part Rivian, so two different. And then she starts to express like she isn't concerned, she isn't exactly sure how she wants to dress and stuff like that. And seeing someone open up and kind of talk about their uncomfortability and stuff like that and a subject like this, I thought was new and novel, and I liked it. Now I understand it gets to a place where I think there's a scene that made people feel a little too cringe or something, and I'm not quite there yet. But as a story element, she was the only character I thought was cool. So it's interesting. And then I think for the most part, people are getting so upset about those elements, unfortunately, that they're really going to miss a great game. True, the decisions don't matter. True, the graphics are awful. True, it's a lighter, fluffier Disney tone. It's still an adventure game, and there's a lot of fun to be had here. And I don't want people to get so upset about all of the stuff that doesn't matter that they're going to miss on something. If they're a real gamer, there's a real game here, and they're going to love that element. So that's essentially what I think.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, and that's good to hear, honestly. Because I just think you can definitely look past it if there's a game there, good. I mean, gameplay, storytelling. That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
I mean, to be honest, though, like it just makes me a little nervous that the dialogue really kind of is a little bit of a miss, just because you are listening to a lot of dialogue there. But I think it's still like, it sounds like cool. I'm very curious to get like the full, like you're not going to reveal the full rating right now, are you?
Nope, but I'm gonna have to wait because the game could go any sort of direction. But I will say, the Metacritic is fair of 84. So
Okay.
my final score will be somewhere around there. At first I thought it was too high, and how could this be, and that sort of stuff. And then once I started playing it, I was like, oh, this is how I get it.
Yeah, I feel like that is definitely seemingly the consensus. A lot of people are just like, "Yep, I've been playing it, and it's great. It's good."
Yeah, unfortunately, I got kind of caught up, I think, in the hype and the hate and all this sort of stuff, and it colored my perception. And then once I got my hands on the sticks, I was like, oh, we're okay, we're good here,
Now you said you had an idea of what we would think of, each of us would think of it. So do you want to give that to us now?
Yes, I definitely do. Okay, so for for Maulding, you're just gonna be like, huh, well, that sure had a lot of hype for I don't know why. It's kind of a mid game. It's not as cool as my precious Baldur's Gate 3. You guys should play Baldur's Gate 3. But
You
it
guys
had its
should
merits.
play Baldur's Gate 3. Because if you
I've
want
heard.
like good dialogue, you want edgy, and you want fun gameplay with great story, that's what you're gonna play.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
So you're gonna be like, it was a game. You're gonna say, I'm glad I played it. I didn't like go 100 hours, but it was a good time. That's what you're gonna say.
Oh my god, that's a really good impression of me.
Matt Lord is gonna be, hey guys, I bought this for the Steam and it's awesome. The gameplay is pretty fun. I'm liking the story more than I thought. I'm gonna go to see my grandma in Hemet, and I'm gonna take the Steam Deck with me. And then he's gonna come back. He's like, yeah, that was pretty fun. Then he's only gonna play about, I would say, 10 to 15 hours. He's not gonna say anything for a good year. And then on this podcast, I predict at least a year to a year and a half from now, Matt Lord's gonna be like, hey guys, I just picked up I just picked up Dragon Age Veilguard. Man, that game's pretty good. I'm really enjoying it. I don't know why, but that's why you play games. You totally do that.
I take the year hiatus at minimum, and then I come back, fire it back up,
Yes.
usually on another platform or so, and then just
Yes.
enjoy it
And
all over again.
then you bust it out in the conversation, and I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, I told you about that game a year ago, and you're just playing it now.
Yeah, I gotta wait a little while. It's gotta stew, and like I gotta goon on it for a little while, and then
You
I come
do.
back.
All that
Yeah.
gooning.
Yeah. Those are my predictions for both of you. I think there's a
Accurate.
lot to be fun here. It is one of the bigger games in this fall, other than, maybe like Indiana Jones and stuff like that. So it's just going to be a shame if people completely write this off.
Well,
No,
you
it's
mentioned the
not.
Metacritic, and I do have a Metacritic story that I wanted to
Oh, yeah.
discuss,
Yeah.
if that's okay. So, if we're moving on, we have Paul Tassi, who wrote an article about Metacritic responding to Dragon Age: The Veilguard review bombing, which is a problem that games have been experiencing lately. And this one is specifically about Veilguard. And he says Metacritic user scores are frequently used as a protest metric for certain games for one reason or another, as an outlet that does not require you to own a copy of a game to rate it, unlike Steam, PlayStation, or Xbox. As such, a wide divide opened up after Dragon Age: The Veilguard's launch between Metacritic user scores and those other platforms. Here's an updated recap. So Steam has it at 73%, mostly positive. PlayStation has it at 4.34 out of 5 stars. Xbox has it 4 out of 5 stars. And Metacritic, drumroll, has it at 3.8 out of 10. Asked to comment about the slew of Metacritic user scores describing Veilguard with terms like woke, DEI, propaganda, agenda-driven, and so on, they issued the following statement. We take online trust and safety very seriously across all of our sites, including Metacritic, a spokesman said. Metacritic has a moderation system in place to track violations of our terms of use. Our team reviews each and every report of abuse, including but not limited to racist, sexist, homophobic, insults to other users, etc. And if violations occur, the reviews are removed. The question is what Metacritic actually labels abuse, and if many of these reviews meet those terms. The term woke may not be considered racist on its own. Neither is accusing the game of propaganda on its face. But DEI? It's unclear what Metacritic thinks and how many reviews have actually been removed. Not many from the look of it. It's clear that Metacritic is using a somewhat narrow criteria to remove reviews, as simply saying a game goes against your politics, which is why you're giving it a 0 out of 10, is probably not grounds for actual removal. Some review sites, like Rotten Tomatoes, have tried to implement systems where you verify you've seen a movie to rate it, though they have not managed to figure out a system to do that for TV shows. Here, given that Metacritic does not sell the actual game, there's probably no way to do it here either, so you're simply just going to have to take these user scores for what they are. So I thought that was super interesting because this review bomb thing does seem to be a problem. And if you look, like he did, at the comparison between scores from people who had to actually buy the game versus people who could just review it without just, hearing the news or just being angry about it, it's a huge, there's a huge divide between those two scores. So I'll be very curious, Dan, when you finally give us a score and where that falls in.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I think the shame here is, and what those people are missing, and this is what I think we were all missing early on, is that, like there are, when you play the game, you get the sense, oh man, hundreds of people worked on this. So these are people that aren't even playing the game that are giving the review and work of and putting down the work of so many people. You feel how big this game is and how much money was poured into it. And I'm not saying those people can't speak their minds and they have opinions and there are elements in there and that they can, feel all however they want to. But at the same time, to write off all that's, else that's on there because of such like small politics, it's really sad.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Just to jump, the Steam reviews are really good. The way they make you do it, so you can buy the game. I think you have to put in 5 hours also. So it's not just owning the game. I'm pretty sure you have to put in a certain amount of time before the system even
That's the way it
allows
should
you.
be.
Yeah,
That's the way it
which is
should
Yeah,
be.
I think
perfect.
so
Like
too.
that is, I think, the best course of action. I'm not sure
Yeah.
why Metacritic is so like open with just like allowing it, because this isn't the first game that's
Xbox
been
is too,
reviewed
though.
bomb.
No, it happens all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah. I'm trying
Unfortunately,
to.
Xbox is like that. You can review an Xbox game before it's even released, and I'll go in
Oh,
there and I'll
wow.
see like they're rating it and reviewing it, and it's popping up, and it's not even for sale yet. And I'm like, wait a minute here, and this is an Xbox.
That's strange. What the? I
Yeah,
didn't know that. That's really weird. Yeah, I'm a little, I mean, I'm not super like surprised. I know like people love to use that as their like form of, you know, getting like taking it to them, which is just like
yeah.
so funny because like who wants to take the time to even do such a thing? It's like just let it be. Jeez.
Yeah. And for me, it's like the elements that I saw that people might be offended by were in the character creator, which is literally the first, like, maybe hour if you go crazy like me, but like
And it's
the
all
first,
that's all choice. Like who
yeah,
cares? Like
exactly. It's all,
then
Yeah.
make the character. Yeah,
100%. And then you start the game and there's so much other stuff in the game and they're penalizing. It's just shallow. It's just,
Very
wait,
shallow.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But let's move on to Resident Evil 9. There's some leaks that's starting to get, brewing. What have we learned? What's going on here, Lord?
Well, so yeah, I got this one. This is from the Game Post by Zahad Ali. Something that has come out on November 6th. So basically this is a whole thing. These leaks have come from Biohazard Declassified, who has had credible insider information about the franchise in the past. The information shared by a YouTuber, Residents of Evil, is supposedly leaked by a playtester. So that's interesting. Playtesters out here, spilling the details after those NDAs.
yeah.
Who claims the game will feature beloved characters like Jill Valentine and Leon S. Kennedy as protagonists. Not a huge surprise there. Chris Redfield and Barry Burton are also rumored to return as supporting characters. Of course, while this information is unconfirmed, it's exciting for fans who've been hoping to see these iconic characters back in action. And this is in quotes here. Jill will be dressed more tactical, similar to her outfit in Resident Evil 5, Lost in Nightmares, while Leon will appear similar to his look in Resident Evil Damnation. Jill will still look the same as she did in Resident Evil Death Island, whereas Leon will look much older with an unshaven face and slightly longer hair. So the leak details also suggest that Resident Evil 9 will take place 4 years after Resident Evil Village and focus on Jill and Leon as they investigate an island tied to Evelyn's origins. The island will feature locations like abandoned hospital, dark forest, caves, abandoned houses, a laboratory. There we go. Gotta love a good laboratory. And even in a temple.
You can goon hard
You
in a laboratory.
You can goon in a laboratory, guys. And then so this is a good one. Enemies will be an evolved zombie who resides on the island. They can run and use a variety of melee weapons like knives and axes, which sounds very familiar to the Ganados in Resident Evil 4. And then along with that, there'll be a stalker type enemy for Leon and a monstrous goat man who targets Jill. So that sounds all pretty sweet. I mean, are you guys hyping up for Resident Evil 9? Because I know that Resident Evil Village was a big hit. I know Dan was all about it. I played a lot of it. I didn't finish that one quite up because it just was not as scary as Resident Evil 7, I must say, but hey, I'm always down for a new Resident Evil game and be hyped for
I
it. So.
agree. I am apeshit for those. There's something about that formula of like, you don't just beat those games one time. You got to beat it like 3 times because you have to unlock all of the ammo and the rocket launcher and the shotgun and all that sort of stuff. And the first time through is like the horror haunted house. But the second time and the third time, it's like a shooting gallery. And by the third time, you are just wasting dudes. It's such a good formula. I'm super pumped. However, I gotta say, I agree with you 100% that Resident Evil 7 really dialed things back and gave it a grounded feel. And
Yeah.
that was scary to me. Yes, I enjoyed the crap out of Village, but when it's something that's in the deep south or something that's like in a real world location that's tangible, it's a lot more believable and grounded. And when it's like Village, where it's fantastical and it's got, like Frankenstein and all that sort of stuff, like that was fun, and vampires and all sorts of stuff, like it's fun, but it's like, okay, let's dial it back again, because that was, it makes me concerned where they're going if they're going to continue the crazy.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind them going back to a much more slow pace, puzzle heavy, and just terror. Like I
Yeah.
thought Village right off the bat, like right after playing that, I was like, okay, this is just definitely a more action focused type of game. You
Yeah.
have like moments where you'll have like
Yeah.
swarms of enemies come down and you're just shooting a shotgun the whole time. It's like you weren't getting that in Resident Evil 7. Maulding, did you play
7.
any of these?
No, they're not my type of games. The last one I played was whatever one, you're in Africa, I think.
Resident
There's
Evil
like
5.
voodoo zombies.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the last one I played. I had fun. They're just not my. They stress me out because of the limited inventory and the like inventory management, and it stresses me out if I don't even know if they still do this, but like the limited saves. Like way back in the day, it was like the save tape that you put in a typewriter to be able to save it or something like that. And I don't know if it's still the same, but that
No.
always stressed me
More
out.
of a
Maulding,
shooter now.
something
I
about
just-
that, like
They're
hearing
actually
that come from you, I'm a little surprised to hear that. I feel like
I-
you're into that high stakes level of stuff.
I
So
do.
I'm
I
like,
do. I love high stakes.
Yeah.
It's just the gameplay itself, just I think isn't.
Yeah.
I don't find it very fun.
Yeah. So I guess we'll have to see what happens. Let's see if this YouTuber was on to this playtester was on to something when it finally gets more.
It just makes me excited that the game sounds like it's pretty close. Like there's going to be an announcement soon if they're already playtesting and that sort of stuff. So that's kind of exciting. So we'll see where it goes. But then speaking of leaks, Maulding, I know you also had an exciting leak for this week.
Yeah, this is a really simple one. This is for the Switch 2. Nintendo has confirmed. Oh, I got this from IGN, and they say that Nintendo Switch 2 will officially be backwards compatible with original Switch games.
Thank God.
Which is something that I have been really scared about because I will never companies and their greed, I would never expect anything else. So I'm glad that this is happening. Nintendo Switch Online will also be available on Switch's successor. So this Nintendo wrote on Twitter, this is Fukukawa, he says, at today's corporate management policy briefing, we announced that Nintendo Switch software will also be playable on the successor to Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch Online will be available on the successor to Nintendo Switch as well. Further information about the successor to Nintendo Switch, including its compatibility with Nintendo Switch, will be announced at a later date. I wish they could have fit Nintendo Switch in there one more time, but yes. So that was just a really quick story. That I've been worried about. Thankfully, we have backwards compatibility. I'll be able to, when I buy it, play my lovely Tears of the Kingdom, which is my favorite game on the Switch. So
yeah, no, that's a huge relief. I'm hoping we're just closer to getting our hands on it. I would have loved to avoid that the system to already have been out yet, to be honest.
I agree. I'm like,
we
where
need
is it? Where is it?
Like did you say they are going to announce it here soon, Maulding? Was that what I heard, or no? It's the announcement still up there.
This was the announcement that was on the Twitter. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the official reveal is slated to be by April of 2025. So we have to wait some time, which is understandable. They're not going to want to announce a new console right before Christmas where they're going to sell. So.
Yeah.
No.
So you
they
think
want to? Yeah.
Christmas 2025 is potential when this is going to come out?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think before Christmas 2025, they'll give it to us, the hardcore folks like us, the huge nerds, like September, October.
All right. Well, that's cool. I'm excited.
Announced in April.
Hope I'll have to start. Rose's gonna have to start eating some rice for a while because Daddy's about to spend.
I know, with that new controller and the new Switch. What I want to know is what game are they gonna release with it? Because they got to put a high-profile game with it. Yeah, it's gonna be.
It smells like Mario, gentlemen. I'm telling you, I'm thinking Mario. I feel it's gonna be a Mario. It's gonna be a big one. It's gonna be like Odyssey 2 or something. It's gonna be freaking amazing. I'm so ready. We haven't had like a big 3D adventure Mario. Either that or it's going to be Galaxy 3. And if it's Galaxy 3, I'll lose my shit. But I don't think I've never even heard a rumble other than myself talking in my sleep. So it's going to be Odyssey like 2.
No, I think
what will you think if it's like Splatoon?
Well, I'll be like, oh, that's inevitable, but where's the good shit? That's what I'm gonna be like.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Okay, what is the launch title? Let's play this game. Like, what are the launch titles that you see, or at least one?
Maulding, go.
No,
Maulding,
please.
you go. Okay, well then. I was thinking, honestly, I wouldn't be mad at a Splatoon because I feel like Splatoon is such an underrated shooter. It's an amazing game, but I really do think they're ramping up to release that Pokemon MMO. And so that is something that they could launch with the system.
I agree with Dan. It's going to be a Mario game. Like to do a big release. I mean, Switch 2 is going to be a huge release. They're going to put it with Mario.
The question on that though, are they going to have a Mario game come out between because this Mario game that just came out is getting panned. They're not liking it. This new pirate ship game. Do you think they're going to release Brothership? Yeah. It's not getting.
This is a turn-based one. Well. This isn't like in the main canon. I'm talking like big budget, full 3D canon Mario.
Yeah. So you don't think they're going to have any more Mario games between this one and then the one that would come out for this? No.
I think they've been coasting on the dregs. Their releases haven't been super solid, other than Jamboree, which you can watch the full playthrough on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, Jamboree was really fun. That was awesome. But yeah, I think those are all, I mean, Mario for sure. Odyssey 2, I bet that's probably I'll go with that too, so we can all be right when it happens.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, let's squeeze in one more story before we get to the topics of the week. Maulding, I know you had something that you wanted to talk with some Xbox
This specifically for Dan that makes me very happy / what are you gonna do? Is that Xbox? There are some Xbox server closures planned for December 2024, including NBA 2K23. NBA 2K 2023 for Xbox One, and Dan, I'm really sad to say, Friday the 13th. You will no longer be able to play Friday the 13th. The worst game I have ever played.
The best game December. I have ever played. And you're a butthole. I even bought it for him. He played it for like 15 minutes and was like, this is the worst game I've ever played again. After I paid for it. I didn't even get my
I bought Ark for you, and you didn't play that with me either. So turnabout's fair play.
That is the worst game.
No, come on. You have terrible taste.
You have terrible taste.
Anyway, so I just want to throw a little salt in the wound.
No, I appreciate it.
You gotta get that in there.
Yeah. Yep. All right, let's move on to the listener topics of the week. Now, was this you, Lord? Someone had a really good topic in the text.
Yeah. So I want to know, what is your quirky gaming ritual? And I can kind of like lead us off here because I was like, okay, well, here's mine. I must have a coffee while I'm gaming, or like some sort of energy drink. Like Dan knows, I was over at his house. I'm like, feed me some Crystal Light energy drinks, and Dan provided. I was like there, I was gassed up. So that's like a must. I just need a coffee, a little caffeine to just get me going. And then one that I don't think this is too abnormal, but like if I'm playing a system, like really any system, I'm playing my PC, Xbox, or PS3, I have to have it hardwired. Like I need it to be hardwired. I cannot be on Wi-Fi. It's just like, it's almost like an OCD type of thing. I have to get it plugged in some capacity because I just want, like, just in case maybe I might go online and then I have to have the best internet. So those were like my two little quick shout outs. How about you guys?
As Dan knows, and also Brendan, friend of the pod, and Blake, is I do have a tendency to eat while we're playing, and specifically snacking, and even more specifically, Diet Pepsi and barbecue potato chips. That is my gaming diet. Yes.
I actually have. This is the Diet Pepsi you left over at my house last time we played.
Nice.
Isn't it delicious? Isn't it so good? It's the best thing you've ever tasted. Yeah,
it's nice because Maulding will leave Diet Pepsi for you every time he comes over to play video games. So,
That's true.
thank
I'll
you.
leave a little present. Of
Cheers.
course, my pleasure. Cheers. Yeah, that's my quirk, and I really do. I mean, at the beginning, it was me forgetting to mute my mic while I ate, so that people didn't have to hear it. But then after they told me how annoying it was, I would specifically unmute my mic so that people would have to hear me eat because I'm an asshole, and that's how I treat my friends. So yeah, that's
Luckily,
my
there
gaming
is an
quirk.
audio slider for your friends as well. Just,
Yeah.
putting that out there.
Oh, that's
Completely
why, that's
unrelated,
why.
completely
Yeah,
unrelated,
of
but
course.
PSA, if you have a butthole friend like I do, you might wanna look into that.
You might.
um, my rituals are surprisingly very similar to Lord's. You mentioned it, Lord, actually, that one of mine is I love either I need a drink, so it's got to be like a sparkling ice, or I've gotten addicted because my brother uses Crystal Light caffeine packets as a pre-workout ritual because he likes the caffeine. He's not looking to bulk, so he's not doing the creatine thing. He just wants the little buzz before he goes and lifts. And I've lifted with him, and it totally works. So, but then I was like, man, this is going to be really great if I play it with video games. But it's like it doesn't have any carbonation. So what I do is I take a seltzer and then my Crystal Light caffeine packet. You mix the two together, and I'm telling you, it's one of the best concoctions ever. And those Crystal Light things have just about 90 milligrams, or around between 70 and 90 milligrams. So it's more than a cup of coffee. It's around a cup of coffee. And definitely, if you need a cheap gamer drink, I highly recommend you look into those because those are my favorites.
It's so good. I can
Thank
attest.
you.
I was there.
Yeah.
I gave it a full, and I'm pretty picky with my drinks. I think I had like 2 because I was like, I want more of that.
You
So
wanted to fly
I
home.
want
That's what you
to.
wanted to do.
Oh,
Right.
I did. I was pretty gassed up. I was like ready to go. Mario Party. So that was awesome. Yeah, good call on that.
Right on. Okay, and then just based kind of like on that with that topic, it made me think like, while you're playing and you've got your favorite, drinks and snacks and all that sort of stuff, what was in the past one of your favorite gaming peripherals, and then how did it die?
So
Oh.
this isn't a gaming peripheral. So I took this question a little bit differently, but
A gaming
and it
device.
certainly yeah, it certainly isn't my favorite, but I loved the Xbox 360. That was the first Xbox I got my hands on. I didn't have the original one, and then I took vacation to play Skyrim. And the week before Skyrim came out in November, I remember it very well. I got the Red Ring of Death on my old Xbox, and I was in such a panic, and I didn't care. I didn't care the cost. I would have spent $200,000 to get myself a new Xbox in order to play Skyrim in time. And so I had one. God, would Amazon even a big thing back then? I don't know. Maybe I even bought it from Best Buy, but I had it shipped to me. I did not. I didn't even want to. I didn't even care about fixing it. I just put it away and wanted my new Xbox to play Skyrim.
That
So
is so
yeah.
wild. I had the exact same
Did you
experience, but
really?
I took time off to play GTA 4, the one in New York. I was
Uh huh.
super excited about it. And I put it in there right to get started and stuff, and check it out. And I guess that game's really intense because it overheated it, totally got my Red Ring of Death. Now it was my second Red Ring of Death, but I did the
Oh,
exact thing. I went over to GameStop, and I was like, I obviously need to buy the Elite because I needed a new one that wasn't going to have the same like overheating issues and stuff like that. And I was like, I would have paid any price for my 360,
any
and
price.
I got the Elite, and everything was good from them. But I had that specific video game, that specific time. That's
Yep.
so
I would
funny.
have traded a baby in for it
Yeah,
if I
I
could
would
have.
exactly. It was GTA. Those things, like
Yeah. It
they
was
don't come out very
Skyrim.
often. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, I
it's
mean,
funny.
that's funny because I had the exact same thing. I feel like the
Oh
360
my
really was
gosh.
just like I had a red ring situation, which I didn't put down, but like red ring was just like such a that happened to everybody's. Like
It
it just was
did.
Yeah.
inevitable. It's
Yeah.
too bad that system was really plagued with that one.
They were really
Uh,
good about fixing them though, but it would take too long. So like I sent mine
Yeah.
in to get
yeah.
fixed, went and bought an Elite, and then when it got fixed, went and traded it. I had a whole plan.
Well, I actually, the fun fact, the paper or the towel wrapped around it and you cook it back actually worked for me. Did you ever
Okay,
try that?
no, I figured people were gonna burn down their houses. I remember that thing,
No,
but
I
that's
did
crazy.
it. I mean, I was like, I didn't have like any funds to do that. So I'm like, might as well try it. And it worked for a little while. And then it just red ringed like 2
Wait,
weeks later.
what was that fix? You put it in the microwave?
You
Pretty
put a
much.
towel around it and you basically just turn it on and you let it like cook
Oh, you put it
back.
oh, okay.
Yeah, you let
You
it like
don't
overheat
literally
again.
cook it.
No,
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. No, you don't actually cook it. It's just, I don't know. It like melts the whatever
Oh.
is going on back
I think
together.
I still have mine underneath my bed. Maybe I should pull it
Give
out
it a
and try to
shot.
fix
Give it
it.
a
Yeah,
shot.
right.
Yeah.
It's,
Not missing
but
anything.
my big thing, which is, Dan, this is also funny as well, because GTA 5 cooked well, I keep saying cooked, not literally. It destroyed my Blu-ray disc on my PS3, and the Blu-ray disc the deck just stopped working. It wouldn't read discs after playing GTA 5. And then I went in and cracked that bad boy open and changed out the laser, and I got it working again. I'm just like
Oh,
a
that's
Oh, look
awesome.
at
little,
you.
yeah,
You're like a
it
little
was cool.
MacGyver.
I was a little MacGyver.
Magooner.
I'm a Magooner.
Yeah, right, more like it.
And I put the laser in and it works. It still works to this day. So, but yeah, geez,
Nice.
GTA 5 and Red Rings of Death, or GTA's Red Rings of Death. What a
Yeah.
common thing to cause
Yeah.
problems.
Ugh,
Jeez. Yeah.
good days,
Good
but
times
man,
though.
that console.
Yeah. Seriously.
Definitely. Well, that pretty much wraps everything we have for this week. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you like and subscribe. And if you're listening to the podcast, please tell a friend. And on behalf of Matt Maulding, Matt Lord, myself, Dan Whitehill, thanks for joining us. And as always, good playing with you.
Good playing with you.
Be playing with you.